Assalamu alaikum. Hello and good afternoon. I hope this month of Ramadan is thus far going well for you all, inshallah. You're listening to Atiyah on the Mental Health and Emotional Wellbeing Show on Ramadan Radio Wolverhampton, online on ramadanradiowolves.com. In the show today, we hope to provide information that may be helpful to support your well-being and the well-being of others, because everyone's mental health matters. You can listen back to this and previous shows on Ramadan Radio's YouTube channel, alongside finding further mental health information on my X feed at Atiyah3. We are not here to offer you any advice in place of your clinician. However, we shall share information that may encourage you to seek support. If you feel you need to discuss your health and well-being following this show, then please contact your GP. You're welcome to send comments regarding the show via the WhatsApp messaging number on 07440 420 432. In the show today, I'm pleased to invite Dr. Hafsah Qureshi, a GP, family doctor in Lincoln, UK, with the Total Wellbeing Coach for Professional Women. Dr. Hafsah Qureshi is a mother of three, a co-founder and current vice president of the British Islamic Medical Association. Her mission is to support overwhelmed professional Muslim women overcoming their struggles and creating happy, healthy, fulfilling, Jannah-focused lives so that they can be their best selves for their families and their ummah without burning out. She helps through one-to-one coaching and a program for professional Muslim women, the Khadija Life Upgrade Program. During the show, we will be focusing on habits to success in Ramadan and beyond. Thank you for joining us today, Hafsah. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the show.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much for inviting me onto the show.
It's our pleasure. How did you become interested in the coaching world? Tell us a bit about that first, if that's okay.
So I'm a GP by background, and I've been a GP for many years. But I wanted to help people with their mental health on a deeper level than, being a GP allows. And also I went through, some mental health difficulties myself, especially after having my second child. And I, accessed the sort of normal counseling sort of routes and things like that. But I actually found getting coaching helped me more because coaching is more future focused and it's more focused on, you're taking action and what you want to achieve and where you want to go going forward. And I found that for myself more helpful. Within coaching, you do go inwards and you do look at your mindsets and your mental health quite a bit, but it's more kind of focused so that you can, figure yourself out so that you can take action and kind of keep the focus on moving forward in life. And that's what I quite liked about coaching. And also I feel like prevention is better than cure. And with coaching, what it allows you to do is, take those proactive, it's all about being proactive and, setting up, having somebody in your corner to help you set up those habits, set up those systems in life to create a life you want and work towards those goals you want, inshallah.
Okay, thank you. Very interesting. And thank you for sharing some of your own personal experiences there. With the busyness of life, we can easily become engulfed in the day-to-day and find it difficult to complete tasks or work towards achieving success in any area. Do you have any advice on how to begin?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing with life is modern life, especially, is so full of distractions. We're very, very busy. And I think the starting point really is knowing actually what you want to achieve and like knowing what you want, simple question of, often when I ask people what is it that you want in life? Or what is it that you'd love to achieve? What is it that you'd love to achieve 1 year from now? People are actually I haven't really thought about that because people are so busy in the busyness of life. So it starts by really figuring out what you want to, I think, achieve. So say, even something like say Ramadan, like what is it that you actually want to achieve in Ramadan? Like what are your goals? Like, setting, being clear on what your destination is. But then very crucially, it's about knowing what you want to achieve in life, but then not being hyper focused on that, if that makes sense, and actually enjoying the journey, enjoying each moment that you work towards that journey, enjoying each moment of each day. And I think, and also figuring out the most, instead of, doing things by trial and error, say you have a goal that you want, something you want to achieve in life, figuring out the easiest, most enjoyable, most strategic way to actually work towards that goal, inshallah.
Mm. And you're saying there in terms of goals for life, would you say that, that there's a method in itself in terms of listing your goals and where to start?
Yeah, absolutely. So, when you say method, could you clarify what you meant by that?
Yeah, so in terms of you have larger goals, smaller goals, you have
Yes,
thought you haven't really thought through goals. Does that make
yes,
sense? And
yes.
you have touched on that already, but I'm just wondering whether there's anything more that you could add to that.
Yeah, absolutely. So the way, I mean, there's many ways to do it that, you'll see that people sometimes say have a 5-year plan, have a 3-year plan, have a 1-year plan. People can get quite complicated with it. I like to keep things simple. So I say, my personal approach, that I use with my clients is have a vision for what you want in your life overall, like, which you don't have to be realistic in that you can be slightly idealistic. Have a vision of, in each area of your life as well, not just being hyper focused in one area, but especially as, as Muslims, we want to succeed in all areas of life, inshallah. So have a vision of what you want to achieve in each area of your life, in your Islam and your spirituality goals, in your health and, in your physical health goals, in your emotional health goals, in your, what is it for your, for your, in terms of external, maybe physical, materialistic goals. If you have them, it's okay to have them. If you want, if you want to travel, if you have certain travel goals, for example, or you do have a desire to have a certain, I don't know, house or car, it's different for different people. It's okay as long as you don't let it, as long as you're keeping everything in balance, if that makes sense. So make a goal, on each area of life, make a plan of what is it, like, what is your vision? Relationships, what's your vision for that? For your career, what's your ideal? What's your vision? For your legacy, your contribution, what you're contributing to the ummah. Have a idea in mind. What is it that you would love to achieve? For your, yeah, again, your religious goals as well. Um, and then how I like to do it is then break that down into monthly. So have an overall vision, which doesn't have to be realistic. It can be slightly idealistic, because at the end of the day, whether you achieve it or not, that's in Allah's hands. And you can just, when you're clear on what you want in life, you can start making dua for it. And Allah, it's in Allah's hands if He answers that or not. But then what you do is you break that down into, what I like to do is break it down into like a monthly goal. So that way, monthly is, it's not so far in the future that you then kind of forget about it, but it's not kind of, but also it's, giving you a little bit of wiggle room, time to, experiment with the goal. And, it's not kind of too cumbersome to kind of keep yourself, just check in every month, seeing if you're sticking to it or not. So set a small, realistic goal for, for that month. So for example, if you have a goal that you want to memorize, your ultimate goal, vision is that you'd love to memorize the Quran, say. Well, in your unique situation in life right now, what's realistic for you right now in terms of working towards that goal? Because say, like, if you've got, I don't know, a baby, it might not be realistic for you to memorize half a juz a day, but it's still, you can still maybe do 2 ayahs a day. And the point is that you're still working towards that goal, even if it's just a little, because the small and consistent deeds, they are the most beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I like to break it down like that. Have your big picture vision and then set it into kind of more the monthly realistic, what we call, the SMART goals, like keeping them realistic, and achievable for the month.
Right. Thank you. In terms of Ramadan, I mean,
Yeah.
Ramadan is uh, present for multiple reasons, but one of the reasons is to kind of help develop habits, I suppose. So, how can Ramadan help us in developing habits? What are the key habits that we should be looking to develop in Ramadan, do you think?
Yeah, I absolutely, love Ramadan, like many of us, for many, many reasons. But yeah, one of the things is I think Ramadan really does give us the opportunity to have, a habit reset. Why is that? Because in Ramadan, what are habits? Habits are the things that we're doing sort of on a daily basis, right? And in Ramadan, we kind of change our daily habits, we change our daily routines. So it's kind of like having a blank slate, and it's giving us that opportunity to kind of, completely reset and intentionally create like the habit, the habits that will serve us. Okay, so a lot of our habits we kind of take on, we do day to day without really thinking about it. Maybe that we've learned them from our parents, or we've just kind of taken them on and we're not really thinking about it. So Ramadan gives us the opportunity to kind of reset and really think about, we're thinking about when are we waking up, when are we eating, when are we not eating, when are we doing our Quran, when are we going to fit all these things in? So we're actually having to think about how we're planning our day. And then so it's giving us almost that training ground to think about how you almost design your day. And the other thing about Ramadan is it's about 30 days, and they say it takes about 30 days to form a new habit. So it's giving us that, it's almost like a blank slate, making us think about our intentionality that we're going to use with our time. And then I think one of the things I like to say to people is with Ramadan is don't just go into Ramadan, go and do these things, do all these good deeds and have the intention that it's just for Ramadan. No, like start in Ramadan, use it as the opportunity to start the habits that you're going to try and continue on beyond Ramadan as well. So, for example, in Ramadan, you might start a habit, inshallah, like say if life gets busy and you've not really picked up the Quran for a few months. So in Ramadan, make that intention that, I'm going to start to read the Quran every day. And inshallah, I'm going to carry on that beyond Ramadan too. Now, maybe in Ramadan, I might do a bit more. I might try and do like a juz a day. But outside of Ramadan, I'm going to still continue that habit of that daily Quran reading. Maybe I won't be able to do a whole juz a day, but I'm still going to do, a quarter of a juz or even an eighth, or whatever, even if it's 10 hours a day, but I'm going to make that intention to try and carry on that habit beyond Ramadan. Because with anything, it's always harder to start it. And once you've started that habit, then you can always tweak it and, adjust it, but it's always harder to start. So if you start that good habit in Ramadan, then inshallah, you can carry on beyond it. Another one is, obviously with Ramadan, we're not eating for most of the day, and we're not eating. We're being mindful of ourselves. We're being mindful of our eating. In fact, Allah says in the Quran that fasting is prescribed so that you may become, God conscious. And the first step to becoming God conscious is becoming conscious of yourself, becoming conscious of your own thoughts and your own habits, because as Imam Ghazali says, like, he who knows himself knows his Lord. In order to become conscious in your thoughts of Allah, the first step is you have to become conscious of your thoughts, full stop, in the first place, right? In order to be conscious of, am I doing these actions for Allah? You have to be conscious of, well, what are the actions I'm taking in the first place? So one of the things with Ramadan is we're not eating the whole day, and we're being mindful of, of not eating. So why not continue that habit of being mindful of what we are and aren't eating the whole year round, and just making that commitment that I'm only, inshallah, I'm going to eat nutritious food. I'm not going to be continually snacking on junk food throughout, mindlessly, throughout the year. And I'm going to carry on that habit of only kind of eating 2 meals a day, and eating, inshallah, nutritious food.
Mm-hmm. Well, what are the benefits of achieving these habits emotionally, mentally, spiritually?
So, the benefits of habits, I think, is, well, which habits do you mean in particular?
Achieving generally, if people have set goals and they're looking towards achieving habits, how does that help them mentally, emotionally, spiritually? How do you see that it benefits individuals that you speak to, perhaps, or more generally?
Yeah, well, the great thing about habits is that, with habits are the things that you do on a daily basis, right? Or on a repetitive basis, actions that you take on a repetitive basis. Now, the thing with habits is to form them in the first place. It does require a little bit of energy, attention, willpower to form those habits. And, they say, as I say, that if you do things for about 30 days in a row, then you're more, once you put that attention in and that effort in for that 30 days, the idea is beyond that 30 days, it's no longer effort. Beyond that 30 days, then you're just doing it on autopilot without having to really think about it. And it just becomes, a part of your routine that when we're starting to drive, for example, initially, when you're learning to drive, you have to put a lot of thought and attention into, the gear and the handbrake and, accelerating and checking your mirrors, all of that. But then it becomes your second nature and we're doing it without necessarily even thinking about it, right?
Uh-huh.
So similarly with habits, it's like if you form the habits that are actually good for you, that will serve you. The idea is, and serve your mental health. The habits. The idea is then you're doing the things that will perpetuate good mental health, good physical health, good spiritual health, without it being, taking up a lot of effort and energy. So, for example, I'll just give you an example. One of the things I really emphasize to people I work with is, having a good what I call morning success ritual. So this is when you wake up first thing in the morning. You might feel a bit blur, whatever, you might not, feel like, oh, another day. You might have those thoughts, okay? But if you have a good morning success ritual, so in that, typically what I advise people is do something for your body, some stretches. If you're not fasting, drink a glass of water because morning time is when we're most sort of dehydrated. And then, so that rehydration really helps our brain to get going as well. And then, read some, do a daily dua, of what you want to ask Allah for each day, connect to Allah first thing in the morning, read some Quran, even if it's just 5 ayahs of translation, but connect to the Quran first thing in the morning. So that whole routine might only take like, say, 15 minutes. But the point is, if you form a habit like that, then what it does is it gets you in that good mental mind frame first thing in the morning, and also it gets you in that good physical mind, state of being. And first thing in the morning, that will then make it more likely that you carry on having a good day the rest of the day because you've had that kind of productive morning. You started your day off in the best way. So this is how, if you form the right habits, and the idea is because it's a habit, you would just do those things without it being effort. Like just as you may go to the loo and brush your teeth first thing in the morning, you're doing those things like reading Quran, like almost an autopilot because you've formed that intentional habit. And then it serves you without it being effort, without it seeming like hard work. Does that kind of make sense?
It does. Jazakallah, thank you. Hafsah, sorry, how can we kind of form a consistent Quran habit? You mentioned the Quran there. If we're busy with different responsibilities, as most mothers out there, professional
Yes.
women, are.
Yes. Yeah, excellent question. I think with forming a consistent habit, so a few of my with the Quran, a few of my tips would be, especially for busy people, is that first of all, go for quality, not quantity, and give yourself almost a minimum that, okay, you know what, like a lot of the times we tell ourselves we don't have time for things, okay? But if you say to yourself, look, I'm just going to do 5 ayahs with translation, make it super easy for yourself, like make it super like achievable, super doable, at least when you're starting out, like, make it seem really, really easy so that your brain is kind of objecting less to that action. Because often when we say make an intention to do something, straight away we'll have a thought of, oh, I can't do this, so I don't have time. I don't, you'll have those kind of counter thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got to kind of make it super easy for yourself. So just say, like, I'm just going to do 5 ayahs of Quran with translation. So that's the first thing I'd say, make it super easy for yourself. Second of all, I'd say is try and aim to do it similar time each day. Why? Because again, it's easier to form habits if you're kind of aiming to do things at the similar time each day, because the idea is you want to get to a point where your brain is sort of reminding you that, oh, you haven't read your morning Quran yet, you haven't, and so even if you don't do it, it's like your brain's kind of reminding you that, oh, I haven't done this thing that I normally do.
Mm-hmm.
That you're more likely to achieve that state if you schedule to do it a similar time each day. The other thing as well is what gets scheduled gets done. So if you schedule that roughly I'm going to do it every morning or after my dhuhr prayer, whenever it is, like have a consistent time each day. Aim to do that, and then you're more likely to stick to it, inshallah. And the third tip I'd give is make it super easy for yourself to access the Quran. So if you're going to use a mushaf, like make it really obvious, like put it on your bedside table or on your coffee table where you like to see it. And it's giving you that visual cue to pick up the Quran. Or if you're going to use an app on your phone, like delete, especially in Ramadan, delete the social media apps and put the Quran, app icon where you normally have your WhatsApp icon or whatever. So that it's like, again, it's in your face and you're more likely to do it, because again, this principle is called optimizing your environment. What we want to do is we want to optimize our environment to make the habit that we want to do as easy as possible for ourselves, as obvious as possible for ourselves. And then, inshallah, we're more likely to achieve it and stick to it, inshallah.
Inshallah. That's really helpful. Jazakallah. I in terms of the Quran and the daily habits and putting time aside and making sure that we can kind of optimize the environment, this is all very helpful. What other suggested habits do you think that might be beneficial during Ramadan? So you've talked about the Quran there. Any other successful habits that we could increase during Ramadan?
Yes, absolutely. So one thing, of course, is obviously in Ramadan where we're not eating for most of the day, right? So one high leverage habit I would really recommend, as a well-being coach, is pay attention to what you're eating in your iftar and in your suhoor. So obviously a lot of us associate Ramadan with those tasty treats and those fried treats, but try and at least I would say have half your plate being salad and steamed vegetables, especially, so you can have a little bit of, whatever your rice and curry, and maybe instead of having 5 samosas, maybe just have 1 samosa, but really pay attention to what you're eating, and especially try and build the habit of having some salad and some vegetables prepared, because the reality is that at iftar time, we're super hungry. So whatever, again, optimize the environment, whatever's in front of us, we're likely to eat. So if you do have some vegetables pre-prepared in front of you and some salad, you are likely to, inshallah, eat that. So make sure that's a really high leverage habit I could recommend, because by eating more vegetables and more salad, it's more nutrition. Obviously, a lot more nutrition in the vegetables and salad than in your rice and rotis. A lot more nutrition nutrients for your body. Second of all, it's more low calorie. So if you have a weight loss goal, like many of us, most of us often have a few pounds we would like to lose. So if that is a goal for you, you're not eating most of the day anyway. So if you eat more foods that are high in nutrition but low in calories, like salad and steamed veg, again, it's going to be more easier for you to maybe lose a little bit of weight in Ramadan while still being very full. And the third benefit of that is that again, when you eat more carbs and refined carbohydrates, you end up becoming more sluggish, and we don't really want to be sluggish for Taraweeh, right? Whereas if you eat some, having some of your, I'm not a fan, by the way, of crash dieting, and I'm not saying cut out everything, change completely the way you're eating. I'm just saying whatever you're eating, reduce the portion of refined carbohydrates there and the fried foods, and just to make sure you have a good portion of salad and vegetables. And what that will do is you'll feel actually more energy in your body, because it's more slow release energy, and you'll have that, energy, inshallah, for your Taraweeh prayers as well. So that's a sort of a second one I'd recommend. Third habit, of course, is the night prayer in Ramadan, the tahajjud prayer. As we know, our du'as are accepted in tahajjud. We know there's many ayahs of the Quran, such as the ayah, I think, in Surah Furqan, verse 64, which talks about, the humble servants who spend their night bowing down and standing in prayer, being beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yeah.
The Prophet ﷺ is us saying, the best prayer after the obligatory prayers is the night prayer. And Ramadan is, we're waking up for suhoor anyway, right? So you might as well do some rak'ah of night prayer, even if, again, even if it is just, you can just only manage 2 or 4 rak'ah, but aim to do it, even if it is just for 5 minutes, inshallah. And again, aiming to do that habit with the intention that hopefully, inshallah, then we're creating that habit for outside of Ramadan as well. But, so many benefits. They say the dua of your tahajjud is definitely accepted. I think Imam Shafi said, like, the dua made in tahajjud is like an arrow that doesn't miss its target. So that's definitely another habit I'd encourage building in Ramadan.
Jazakallah. Before you go on to any more,
Yeah.
it's very insightful, and I'm certainly feeling motivated at this moment in time, inshallah. And more habits to success will be after the break. So those of you who've been listening in to Dr. Hafsah Qureshi, she has been filling us in with habits to success, and we hope to hear more after the break, inshallah. Jazakallah. Stay with us, Dr. Hafsah Qureshi.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam for now. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back. You're listening to Ramadan Radio Wolverhampton, the mental health and emotional well-being show. Before the break, you were listening to Dr. Hafsah Qureshi, a GP and coach, and she was sharing with us her habits to success. We were talking about maximizing habits. Would you like to continue with that topic, Hafsah?
Yeah, sure thing. So you had asked me sort of in the context of Ramadan, like,
Hmm.
habits to focus on in Ramadan. So I was talking about the, daily Quran, the mindful eating, and tahajjud. I guess what I would add to that as well, a couple more, especially for Ramadan, is of course, doing a bit of regular charity, which again, something we should hope aim to carry on, inshallah, outside of Ramadan. But we know there's many virtues of giving. Ramadan is all about obviously connecting to becoming conscious of Allah, becoming conscious of that everything we have is a gift of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as even with our wealth, we are custodians of that wealth in a way. We're not owners. So, sharing it with people who need it more. I know many of us give out zakah anyway in Ramadan and calculate that, but yeah, having that, building that habit as well of regular charity. I think another one as well is, obviously Ramadan is all about God consciousness, like building, the Ramadan, fasting is prescribed for you, it says in the Quran, so that you may achieve God consciousness. So especially for people, in busy jobs or who may be busy with children, busy with different tasks. I think sometimes we can feel frustrated, isn't it? That, oh, we're not getting that chance to read as much Quran as we'd like to, or maybe go to the Taraweeh prayers as much as we'd like. But a good habit to build in is just that, inshallah, that regular, constant remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So whatever we're doing, like whether we're doing the chores or whether we're in the car, like just remembering Allah, like what is just thinking of Allah and doing some adhkar. And again, like building that in as a habit. Again, with habits, another way to kind of build a habit is to associate a habit with something you already do. So if we make that intention now that, every time I do, say, the washing up, I'm going to do this azkar, or every time I'm in the car, I'm going to do these azkar, I'm going to have my playlist ready. And doing that little bit of planning, by the way, beforehand as well, can be really helpful, so that we use those little pockets of time for the remembrance of Allah, because that is what Ramadan is really about, like making us God conscious. Is that's like it's all about training us to kind of being mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as much as possible, inshallah. And I think another goal, sort of a Ramadan habit that I'd like to emphasize, and then again it's about carrying on beyond Ramadan,
Hmm.
is doing some dua every single day, but for your specific goals and challenges. So this is something so in the personal development world, they say, every day kind of check in, like, you look at your vision board or kind of read your affirmations, like check your, basically go over your vision, go over your goals on a daily basis. The idea being that if you go over them on a daily basis, you're kind of priming your brain to actually work towards those goals. But what I say to people is, make those goals into a dua and recite that dua every single day. So every single morning I say, connect, talk to Allah first thing and ask him for your heart's biggest desires and whatever your biggest worries, ask Allah for help with those every single day. And then if you're mindful of that, then even inshallah, as we're praying our salah, as you're saying the words of Surah Fatiha, you can connect, when you're saying, you alone we worship, you alone we ask for help in Surah Fatiha, you can think of your challenges and kind of actually make the salah real for yourself. And as you're saying, show us the straight path, the path of those whom you favored, you can, think of your goals perhaps, and you literally feel in your heart that you're asking Allah for your goals. So, doing that daily dua is a great habit to start in Ramadan. We know that they say that the dua of at the time of the fast, when you're breaking your fast, your dua is accepted. In Tahajjud, dua is accepted. So Ramadan is a great time for the acceptance of dua. So getting into that habit of daily dua as well, inshallah, and having that as a habit that we inshallah start in Ramadan, continue beyond. And I think one more I'd like to really emphasize as well for Ramadan is that regular time with family, like quality time with family, one on one if possible with each of your individual family members, but if not possible as a unit as well, like that quality time where you get together as a family, and possibly, and maybe remember Allah, maybe do a family halaqah. Again, that's another thing that you can start in Ramadan and continue beyond. Why is that important? Because again, in Ramadan, it's one of those things where we tend to eat together, right? And we tend to, break our fast together, pray together. But in outside of Ramadan, maybe we'll eat at odd times and we won't necessarily always eat with our families. But they say those families that eat together stay together. So, we want to get into the habit of spending quality time. And when I say quality time, I mean phone free time, like phones not at the table, phones not in the vicinity, spending that time with our family, but remembering Allah together, and so that our children have that positive association of Islam with, nice quality family time as well, inshallah.
Sure. Thank you. Thinking a little bit about that, I mean, some of the suggestions you made there, I mean, if I followed them closely or others follow them closely, we could not falter. But at the same time, it's very difficult to struggle. People do struggle to stick to habits.
Absolutely,
How
yes.
can we make it any easier, do you think?
That's the thing with habits, as I mentioned, it's easy to we can have these intentions, and we can, to form habits in the first place can be a bit tricky, and that's why the coaching industry exists. That's why coaches exist, to have someone to hold you on track, someone to, keep checking in. Are you sticking to that habit that you said you want to, almost that, someone checking in that, are you actually sticking to that habit? So, yeah, some tips I'd give around that is, first of all, in terms of forming the habits themselves, I'd say, make them, as I mentioned before, make it super easy for yourself, make it very small, make it something that you enjoy as well. Try and make the habit, find a way to actually enjoy the habit. So, for example, if it's you want to get into the habit of, say, doing daily exercise, find an exercise that you actually enjoy, if that way, it doesn't have to be something that you don't enjoy. If you want to get into the habit of, doing hifz but you struggle, maybe find a reciter that you actually enjoy listening to, so then you actually look forward in a way to doing that 5 minutes of sitting, listening, and trying to memorize as you listen to your favorite reciter. So try and make it enjoyable for yourself.
With
Uh,
professional women and the balance of work, home, children, cooking, etc., it can become quite difficult. And I like the idea of having a coach to support you with that, with some of your goals and sticking to those habits.
Yeah, and that is really is, Atiyah, it's really about making it easy and realistic for yourself. And because the thing is, it's all about, the most beloved deeds to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are those that are small and consistent. So if you have a goal, again, like you want to say, memorize, juz amma, there's no point in trying to do it for like 1 hour a day, and setting that goal that I'm going to do 1 hour a day, and then you do it for 3 days and then you don't stick to it because it just wasn't realistic for you. Instead, it's better to say 5 minutes a day. And before, 5 minutes a day isn't sound like a lot, but before you know it, if you are consistent with that daily, in 2 years' time, and we know how fast time passes, right? So in 2 years' time, you'll have memorized a significant portion. So keeping that keeping it easy, keeping it realistic for yourself is super, super important. But another way I'd like to think of it as well, if I may, share with you, is I actually have a bit of what I call like a 5-step framework in terms of, how to make it as easy as possible for ourselves with habits. So the thing is, a lot of us will go, what we do is we say, okay, I want to set this habit. Like, I want to make it a habit to say, eat healthy every single day. Okay. Or even beyond that, we might have this goal that, okay, I want to say, I don't know, lose 10 kilos of weight. But, and then what we do go into is we go straight for the action step. We go straight for okay, so in order to do that, I'm going to have to I don't know, cut out all carbs, and I'm going to eat this really difficult diet. And that's the way I have to, this is the diet I've learned off the internet, and this is how I will achieve my goal. Now, what happens is, if you just go in at that, just at that habits level, it's going to be hard to stick to, because you haven't done the inner work in order for you to be able to stick to that habit. So what actually makes it easier to stick to a habit is, like I mentioned, is optimize your environment so that you can actually, it makes it super easier to stick to that habit. So for example, if you have the goal that I want to read Quran every day, make that, put that Quran in a really accessible place so that your environment is optimized. If you have the goal that you want to lose weight, then get rid of the junk food, so that environment is optimized. And, optimizing the environment and your system is all about, one-off action steps. So, you don't, they're only like small action steps, small tweaks that you make
Right.
intentionally, that will make that thing that you need to do, that habit you want to create, as easy as possible for yourself. Okay.
Hmm.
Now that's the next layer, but one layer beyond that as well is, in order to even optimize the environment, in order to even work on the habit level, your first thing as well is your mindset needs to be in the right place. Okay, so that is really, really key, absolutely key, because you have to know why you want to lose that weight. You have to actually understand and really internalize, like, why is it good for me to actually, like, we all know, okay, yes, it's good to be healthy, it's good to be, whatever, be a healthy BMI, but it's about really getting it, like really understanding it. Does that make sense? We all know that,
Yeah.
yes, we should pray 5 times a day. Oh, yeah, it's good to pray tahajjud. It's good to read Quran daily. We all know that on some level, but it's about really, really internal and really having it, ingrained in your mindset, if that makes sense.
Hmm. 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 So just
And
those
how
thoughts.
do you then work on the mindset level? What I would say to that is, you need to have the biggest thing with that is your social circle and your social influence. You got in order to influence your mindset, you need to have the right influence around you. So that's why the company you keep is super important. Having that social influence. This, again, we're having a coach who you align with their values, can be really helpful, because when you hear those mindsets again and again and again, and you have like that real example in a coach,
Hmm.
it's almost, or in your social circle, it's like without even trying very hard, you'll ingrain those mindsets, if that makes sense.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and also you get, have, it's almost like you have that, or a little bit of social pressure to, because everybody around you, they say that we're the average of the 5 people closest to us. So this is the way us as human beings work, that when people around us are doing something, we're more likely to take that on without even necessarily realizing it. So, if the people around us are praying Quran all the time, then we are likely to, just without even like necessarily it being effort, we will take on that habit. Does that make sense? Um, and without even, if people around us are eating healthy, and exercising, without even realizing it, our brain will be like, oh yeah, that's something you need to do, and you're just kind of doing it without it being effort. And of course, this is why for us as well, it's so important to be, as if we're raising children, to focus on being the best role models we can be, inshallah, because our kids will learn so much, like just passively as well, just by seeing what we're doing, inshallah.
Hmm.
So just to summarize the point I've made there as well, is that, sometimes to just work on the habit level can be difficult. And there is something called habit gravity, by the way, whereby, we'll start off, enthusiastic with a new habit, but then around day 10, it becomes quite hard to stick to that habit. And that's the point where, between sort of day 10 and 21, you just got to sort of power through, put that attention in, do these little tweaks to make it as easy as possible for yourself, so that when you get to around day 21 to day 30, it starts to become easy. And then after, beyond day 30, they say it becomes more easier for us to stick to that habit, inshallah. But so, as I say, by working on these outer levels, your company, your mindset, and your environment, if you work on those levels first, then sticking to those habits that will get you to your goal, your ultimate vision, that's what makes it easier, inshallah.
Inshallah. Jazakallah, that's really helpful. I'm just thinking about this in terms of where you talked about the day 10 to 21 and how that becomes a bit difficult. And I'm relating this in terms of Tarawih prayers and
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
have anything to add with regards to Tarawih and
Yeah,
day.
that's it. Often say with Quran in Ramadan or going to Tarawih, we start off enthusiastically, right? And then, again, around day 4, 5 to 10, that kind of lethargy starts creeping in, like especially that we all experience that mid-Ramadan lull, whereby, we find it slightly tricky. And that's, now you guys will know that that's just the habit gravity, or it is natural that it becomes a little bit harder around that time. So that's why, again, optimize the environment, maybe planning to attend a halaqah or a reminder around day 10, so to get that, to refuel yourself almost. Maybe plan an iftar with family, that you're going to have where you're going to have a reminder about the virtues of Ramadan, virtues of Quran in that mid Ramadan portion, so that, again, your mindset is kind of reinvigorated, inshallah. Your environment is re-optimized. You've got that, your motivation built, optimized once again, inshallah.
Now, in terms you talked about the social influence. What of those who find it difficult to, your social influence will be their social influence. Let's say if it's a partner, a husband, wife, if it's family, close family, etc.
Mm.
How do we encourage and motivate them, and how does coaching help with that? Can coaching help with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, with social influence, absolutely, you're right. We can't, this is the thing. We can't control others. We can't control our spouse, our family members, even our kids. We can't control them. We can't make them with our small children, we might, use the, different approaches to make them do things, but that's not really what we want to go for. Again, we want to influence people at the mindset level.
Mhm.
So that the behavior that comes from that is coming from them and it's not feeling kind of forced. But you can't control that. All we can do is try and influence, inshallah. So that's the most important thing, I think, is being a good role model, like being that calm role model, being connected to the people around us, because we're more likely to influence the people that feel a connection with us, feel attached to us, like feel close to us, that people that kind of look up to us, we're more likely to influence those people, if that makes sense. So it's all about building that good relationship with people, and then they're more likely to naturally be influenced without you even necessarily saying anything, just by because they want to copy your example. But yeah, coaching can definitely help. Coaching groups can help. Because then again, you're surrounded by that environment. So, for example, in my program, the Khadija Life Upgrade program, it's a group for professional Muslim women, and because it's all like-minded sisters who want to, achieve that Jannah-focused life, who are striving to excel in all areas of their life, their family life, their career, their health goals, their legacy goals. They're all like kind of very similar-minded sisters. So, that one of the benefits of the group is that people kind of are inspired by each other and learn from each other, and it gives that kind of, if you can't find that group of friends necessarily in your, because especially in this world where people are busy, and you might not necessarily find that group of people that connect to your values in maybe your locality straight away. But if you kind of seek out coaching groups or a coach that aligns with your values, then they can be one part of that social influence factor in your life, inshallah.
Yeah, and that is the
And
one
that
way around it in
positive
terms of,
company. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, this group sounds very interesting in terms of providing support and influence and encouragement through that. I can see how the coaching that you provide will help, and Ramadan in itself will help people with their mental health. Do you have any thoughts on that? I mean, we touched
Absolutely,
on it
yeah.
earlier. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. So for the way I see, mental health is that mental health is all about, it's about ultimately our mental health is very much linked to the thoughts that we're carrying in our mind. To break it down to the basics, it's the thoughts that influence how we feel in any given moment, and our emotional state is always fluctuating. So if I want it in any given moment, at one time we might feel low, at one time we might feel anxious, at one moment we might feel angry, at one moment we might feel happy, at
Yeah,
one moment we might feel sad, at one moment we might feel excited. Like, our emotions are always fluctuating. And
absolutely. And within my field, sorry to cut you there, Hafsah, we have Muslim clients who talk about this dichotomy of mental health and seeing it as a clinical requiring support as well as separate to that, the spiritual requiring support,
yeah,
instead of bringing them both together.
yeah, yeah. Emotions are always fluctuating, but what are they fluctuating based on? They're fluctuating based on what we're thinking in that moment or what we're focusing on in that moment, like what the thought is going on in our head in that very moment. And therefore, um, coaching, first of all, Ramadan can help because
Mm,
habits such as building in that daily Quran routine where we're actually connecting to the translation as well of the Quran or the meaning of the Quran. Because what is the Quran full of? The Quran is full of these empowering mindsets that I'm talking about. The Quran is full of, stories of the prophets that are giving us, hope and encouraging us to be patient when, any problem we may have in our life, right? The prophets have been through, whether it be our children not listening to us, we can see the example of Nuh, whether it be, health problems or losing our wealth. We see the example of Ayub alayhi salam, whether it be, fear of public speaking, we see Musa alayhi salam, so not having children and, struggles with fertility. You see Zakaria alayhi salam. So, any problem, we know that either the prophets have been through or our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam have been through it, and we can straight away see the advice and the hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives them, right? So the more we connect to and what is the Quran containing? It's containing those messages of, this life is just a short life. Allah is the provider. Allah loves you. Allah is most merciful. The hope of the hereafter, hope of Allah's justice. So even with obviously what's going on in Palestine now, a lot of us feel despair and despondency. But when we read the Quran, we get that hope that, what, Allah is most just and justice will be served. And this life is just such a short life. And so the real life is the hereafter. So, we can have that hope in Allah's justice, and that these people who are suffering right now, they will be in the highest level of, Allah's mercy and Allah's bounty for eternity, inshallah, in Jannah. So it gives us that hope. So when you read the Quran, you connect to the Quran like that, it fills you with those empowering mindsets. And similarly, again, how coaching can help with the mental health is, again, by empowering, giving you those mindsets that are actually true, and actually helping you break down your thinking and analyze, like, which of my thoughts are true and serve me, and which are just self-limiting beliefs that have absolutely, I don't know, have picked up maybe from my child, but actually they are not true. So coaching helps you break down those thoughts. And the second thing as well is it helps you focus on taking action, taking action, like rather than, because this, especially as Muslims, we believe, what is the purpose of our life? It's to worship Allah and to do good deeds. So it's all about like focusing, kind of not being too lost in our thoughts, not being too lost in overthinking, but instead focusing on what can I control. The things I can't control, like, if I'm having, my, I don't know, I've got horrible in-laws or something, or, I didn't get this job that I applied for. Things I can't control, I'm just going to leave to Allah. This is what our deen teaches.
Absolutely.
And things that I can control, I'm going to focus on that. Like my eating and what I'm consuming in the body, I can control that. So, my habits, again, this is something where, again, forming habits helps with mental health, and taking control of and consciously creating those habits that will serve you, which again, I share with people, like, what are the good habits to kind of build into their life. But when we do that, it gives us something to focus on, and it gives that, you get that sense of satisfaction as well as you kind
Fantastic.
of
Dr. Hafsah, thank you for joining us today. And we are heading towards the end of the show, literally around a minute left. Can I ask you, on that note, for you to share how people could contact you?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can follow me on Instagram. My handle is at Dr. Hafsah Qureshi. And also you can go on my website, www.drhafsahcoaching.com. If you want to get in touch with me, there's a button there that you can, get in touch with me, or, you can sign up to my mailing list to find out about my other sort of free events and webinars as well, inshallah.
Thank you, Hafsah. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. You've definitely got me motivated, and I'm sure a few of our listeners out there. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on Ramadan Radio Wolverhampton Mental Health and Emotional Wellbeing Show. You have been listening to Dr. Hafsah Qureshi talking about the good things that Ramadan can bring, an opportunity to optimize our environment, gain the mindset, and move forward and create habits to success. Thank you for listening, and you can hear me next week at 1 o'clock on Saturday. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Hope everybody has a great Ramadan, inshallah.
Jazakallah.